I'm Danny Otto. Welcome into an all-new episode of That Recap Show. Now, before we get into the episode, just wanted to issue major spoiler alert. We are going to be going over everything that happened in episode 7 of The Skeleton Crew. So if you haven't watched that episode yet, you might want to pause this video, head over to Disneyplus, check out that episode, and then come back and enjoy the breakdown. Now, with that out of the way, let's start the show.
Poppin' Off presents That Recap Show.
All right, join with me to break down everything from episode 7 of The Skeleton Crew. It's Jon Jon Rico.
Star Wars.
Star Wars.
We're back, baby.
I'm sad. Here's why I'm sad. Because this is, next week's the finale for Skeleton Crew season 1. I mean, obviously we're hoping that we're going to get more of this, or at least I'm hoping we get more of this. Because I'm really enjoying this series way more than I expected to. And this week is the finale of Creature Commandos also. Like, these two series that I have, just really been enjoying.
Yeah.
This whole time they're coming to an end. And I guess I can take solace in the fact that I am sad because they were so good that I want to have more of them, like more of each of these series type of thing. So like it's both good and bad.
Oh, for sure.
But yeah,
if you don't want any more is a good problem to have.
Right.
Sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. And
if I'm like, oh, this season's over, thank God.
Yeah. If I'm not mistaken, we haven't got anything on if this series is going to have a season 2 or anything, right? Because I know
with Star Wars series, they tend to like be very careful about announcing those things ahead of time, just based on fan reactions in general.
I see.
Yeah.
I mean,
it seems like people are seem to be liking this show well enough. But I think also because this show's set within like the Mando timeline too, and there's like that whole like we're building up to the Mandalorian and Grogu movie. I'm wondering if they're building some sort of tie-in too at the same time.
Ooh, I guess we'll have to wait for the season finale, hopefully next week, to find out if there is going to be any kind of connection. Maybe we have Mando and Grogu swoop in.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, for sure. Or our good old friend Carson Teva.
There we go.
Yeah, I'm waiting for my Carson Teva cameo.
Just call him Carson because I feel like it's so close to Coulson, and it's like that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, Coulson.
But anyway, getting right into it, episode 7. I mean, the biggest thing I have to say is not SM33. How could they do this to me? Like, we just got him back on the group of kids side. Like he kind of like went against his pirate orders and basically was like, nah, I'm going to kick you off the ship anyway. And then just gets struck down so quickly with a lightsaber by Jod.
Yeah, turns out Neil was right though. Unclaimsies does check out even with it outside of that. So it was good enough for SM33, which I like that. That was a really good like kind of full circle moment from the first episode. Like that was I like that. And just the whole like battle for claiming on the ship too with Wim and Jod too right before that was really funny because I'm pretty sure Wim got enough words out to actually lay claim on the ship, but still Jod covered his mouth like I lay claims on the ship and all these other things. Like it was just a really kind of like funny encounter in a somewhat serious moment, and then it's followed up with like that big like that oh my god moment with SM33 just getting straight up decapitated
so quickly. And I mean there was a split second in and I realized like this is a Disneyplus show, but I mean we do have some darker Disneyplus series now with being able to kind of do more darker things. I thought Jod was going to step on the mouse.
Oh, they definitely teased like he was going to.
He stepped around it.
Yeah, he kind of kicked it away or whatever it was. Like, I thought they were gonna like cut away. We were gonna hear like the little squishy sound.
Right.
But yeah, I thought that was a nice little kind of like
right.
kind of a moment.
Right. I really thought, and the other thing I was going to ask about, and I didn't ask you before, before we started recording or anything like that, was according to SM33 and the Pirates Code, a captain can only lay claim to one vessel. So I thought what was going to happen in that situation was he was going to lay claim to that particular, like to the
Onyx Thunder.
The Onyx Thunder, yeah. And then the kids were going to go, okay, cool, well, your ship's ours. Like, I thought that was going to happen, and they were going to kick him off and take his crew. Like, I legitimately thought that, because we were still at the point where Jod, knew that something in the ship was the key to be able to get through, but he didn't know it yet. So, like, I was like, well, what if they just take claim to his ship because he just took claim to theirs?
Right? Yeah. No.
So, but anyway, Rico, what were some of your instant reactions for episode 7?
Yeah, this was a pretty really solid, like, kind of penultimate finale that kind of it gave us a lot of
all the things.
Yeah, it gave us all the things, really. Even like a really cool kind of like X-Mansion basketball court kind of a scene with like when they go into ad, and then all the picnic goers are all like, oh crap, the doors are opening, and they have to like run off the grass. So I always like when I see nods to other movies within a Star Wars franchise, or even in other franchises, when you just see nods to other movies in general, just fun little Easter eggs for anyone to enjoy. I love stuff like that. And another thing was, first thing I want to say, bye Brutus. We knew that death was coming, but man, KB really set him up to get taken out the easy way too, with the mechanical arm and then using their voice. So yeah, like one great trap by the kids overall, and then of course, Jod just seeing the opportunity and just getting the easy kill there was just it was very Jod. I would just say that, like, that's very much what you expect for his character to do. So I thought that was really cool. But yeah, another thing I like them kind of invoking the image of, which is just another way of Star Wars trying to mirror itself, right? Is at the end of the movie when Jod is finally inside the mint, and he has his moment with the dataries, and then baiting and stuff, all that, and then he finally has like his, like, he feels like he's on top, and then he kind of like teases what he promises the kids, right? Where he's gonna hurt the parents. But when he ignites the lightsaber and it cuts, it's him in the foreground, but then you have Neil and his mom in the background. Like, they react the same way that the younglings might have reacted when Anakin did it all those years ago in Revenge of the Sith. But I just like the idea of the fact that this is one of the first times, maybe since Anakin in that scene, that we're actually supposed to like fear somebody using a blue lightsaber, because that's always been like the sign of a good guy. Anything that's not red is usually a good guy. And so now we're seeing it used by a more flexible character, I would say, who's more using it for evil purposes in this situation. But it's just kind of a nice way to kind of have that kind of kind of a psychological twist on the lightsaber in general.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't even think of that, but yeah, I mean, it's absolutely true. It's the scene is very reminiscent of that scene with Anakin and the younglings and stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, you can see true horror in the eyes of Neil and his mom in that moment. It is, I mean, something's got to happen to Jod. Like, there's some comeuppance coming.
Yeah.
But before we get too far into it, you want to get to some big takeaways?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. All right, why don't you kick off big takeaways?
Okay, so I think the scene that I probably enjoyed the most in this episode was maybe the sequence of them flying through the barrier to get back into Aden. One, it's just visually very stunning, with just like the green cloud textures and stuff like that, and in the mix of the lightning with the different like kind of structures that were within the barrier that were kind of like providing I would say defense. I get kind of a defensive system for them. So I like that whole thing, but the way they were flying through it was reminded me a little bit of a Solo when they're doing the Kessel Run, like which is more kind of like we thought it was more like a speed thing, but it's really just like a really dangerous route that kind of cuts off a lot of time. So it's just another thing, another dangerous space route that they had to kind of like maneuver their way through very carefully. And we saw how it didn't work for other ships earlier in the episode with that pretty funny sequence of them sending one of Brutus's fighters out there, and he's like, oh, why don't we try sending out another one? And goes, throw them into the air a lot. Like that whole like kind of scene and sequence with those characters kind of reminded me a little bit of Guardians of the Galaxy 2 when like Taserface takes over and Brutus is kind of like the Taserface of this situation. And they're just kind of messing and Jabba would almost be like the Yondu in that situation. But yeah, I just thought that was like the way that all the banter and stuff was going on. You got like the funny kind of like sidekicks on Brutus's squad. So yeah, I just like that whole dynamic. But yeah, I just kind of really liked how that whole space scene kind of built that tension up. Like, oh, is this gonna work? And then when they fly by past the structure, it turns green. Like, this is what this is what the ship is supposed to do. So I was like, okay, cool, really cool little reveal there too.
Yeah, awesome. And that kind of, some of the stuff that you were talking about is perfectly what I wanted to talk about with my takeaway. Where, look, I love that we can have, these intense action scenes, some of the darker scenes, like with the lightsaber and the shot of, Neil and his mother and fear and stuff like that. But then we can have these moments of comedy and stuff like that. Like they're not like, oh, that's kind of fun. Like they're just like little quick, tiny moments. Like, why don't we send another ship? Like little goofy, like chuckle,
little quirky moments that fit the character too.
Exactly. And I think that's perfect. And I love that how they have a good balance of everything, of every type of, scene that they can possibly have. They have some of the darker scenes. They have some of the action scenes. They have, some of the team building scenes and stuff like that. But then they have these little moments of humor that they can, have there and actually feel natural. Like they're not leading to a punchline. They're not doing that. It's just, like you said, it feels like something that, that character would do or say or act like, you know what I mean? So I really can appreciate a series who can get that kind of mix of everything together. So we're not just, given something that, oh, it's a comedy series or it's an action series. Like, you know what I mean? Like we can have those little pockets of humor strung about when they feel right.
Yeah, and the heartfelt moments are even earned in this too. When you have the holographic message from the parents to the kids that they finally get to see, and that first is like their. I think that kind of strikes the chord in the kids that really makes them want to get home probably the most, like because they're really enjoying the adventure because you can see at the beginning of the episode like Wim's kind of he's bummed at the idea of the adventure kind of being over.
Right.
Like he was like that earlier in the season too, and then the adventure spices up again usually. But now it's like definitely coming to an end, so you could definitely tell like he's just kind of like soaking in like what's left of their adventure. But also at the end when they finally reunite too, that's also like a really earned moment too, and it doesn't feel like it's forced in there for the moment. It's like, oh, these kids, these parents have been away from their kids for this long, and then boom, they immediately cut that heartfelt moment right away with like the tension with God igniting the lightsaber. So yeah, they do a really good job of balancing it and then cutting to a different tone like right away too.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. And that leads perfectly into predictions. Would you like to get to some predictions?
Yeah, let's do it.
Awesome. All right. I'm going to kick off predictions. Just like you were saying, we got a lot of things in this episode. A lot to unpack, a lot to unfold, and a lot of like little breadcrumbs, little breadcrumbs that we got. I have a crazy bold prediction that, look, probably isn't true. Probably isn't going to happen. But I just want to have it on record just in case. But before I get to that, we found out some cool stuff, being that the key of the ship wasn't like, oh, it has a defensive barrier or like a shield or something like that. It was actually a ship from At-Adden itself. So that's why they turned green, because it recognized that it's supposed to be there.
Yeah, it's an old emissary ship, I guess.
Right. So that's something very interesting, and that kind of leads to like where I'm getting this bold prediction. Like starting to. There's been other little breadcrumbs, and the other little breadcrumb that I'll say before I get to my bold prediction is we've had more than one time where Jod has made an offhand comment about droids in the sense that he doesn't like them. Multiple times he's said that, like just an offhanded or a backhand comment or something like that throughout this season. He's just a little here and there. So putting those two together, and the fact that like there's this legend of Tak Renan and finding Aunt Adden, and there's that song about him and all this stuff. We know from this episode. We also got that it's been hundreds of years since apparently that legend has existed.
Yeah. Which we keep getting mention of Old Republic, but I would definitely put it more in like High Republic times too, which is there's a little bit of a difference between the two. But yeah, it adds a whole different thing because now it's like maybe we're tying into maybe some acolyte stuff, timeline era too.
Yeah. But anyway, so here's my bold prediction, bold something. And like I said, this might not all be right, but it's along the lines that I'm starting to think of, because there's going to be a big reveal still. There's definitely more to this. There's going to be a big reveal. We're not just gonna like start the finale. Jod's gonna strike everybody down with a lightsaber and then go on his merry way with a bunch of money. Like that's not gonna be the end. So what if Tak Renan, this legendary pirate that apparently he was the one who found at Adden and stuff in the pirate legend song and everything. What if he was actually a droid? Like type of thing, and had like a human companion that kind of it made it look like he was the droid for him, not really but what if he was really in charge? Was a droid and then is now the supervisor. Like what if that is the reveal? Because think about this, how crazy it would be if when Jod is about to do this, we not only get the reveal of the supervisor, and the supervisor happens to be droid, but then we find out that the supervisor is this legendary pirate Tak Renan that everyone is telling all these stories about, everyone has songs about, finding this great treasure planet of Adden and everything like that. But he's been the one in charge all along of this planet, and that's why no one ever sees the supervisor either, is because he really is a droid. And that's why the whole planet, everyone who's kind of keeping the peace are droids. And the people are just there to do their jobs and to do work and live in harmony. But it's really a droid-run planet. So the supervisor is really a droid too. But I just think it would be that extra twist if it was this legend in Jod's eyes of this pirate like type of person, type of thing. That's my bold prediction. It's a lot of little twists, but I think. What do you think?
So in this episode, we actually get a kind of a voice comm kind of a thing from the supervisor, but the way he speaks is very kind of like, it sounds like an automated message in a sense, even when he's directing all the people to like leave the area when the ship is coming in for the shipment. So yeah, part of me is thinking that like when we get the reveal of the supervisor, that it's going to end up being a droid as well. And given the fact that Tak Renan also was SM33's head chief too, it's very possible that he found some kind of a way to just kind of program that, or just kind of set some kind of program directive in all these droids to carry on after he died, if he's not a droid himself, or maybe in the sense like he's maybe like a lot like KB maybe, or he's maybe more droid than man. Maybe if we're throwing in some kind of a weird like mech twist there as far as who he is, just so that he could find, like, because he's got all the money literally in the world. He's got a whole mint at his disposal, so he probably has a lot of resources available to him as well, I would imagine, if he wanted to. So I think it'd be kind of a cool way to introduce some kind of an interesting kind of like a weird, like more mech than man kind of a character in this. Like KB is still pretty much more human than droid, I seem.
Right.
So but I think this kind of like someone that's just kind of like almost like RoboCop, like almost like just like their face or something like that, would be like just like really interesting to me. But yeah, I think something is kind of leading up, because there's a lot of weird little hints that they kind of like drop in this as well, because Wim's dad in the message, like saying like you guys weren't supposed to learn about this until you graduate. So like they obviously there's something they know more about what they were doing, but they're only allowed to know at a certain time of their life, clearly. But another thing is going back to like I think maybe one of the early episodes is like Fern telling Wim about like when he's about to take his aptitude test or his assessment test. about, hey, they make them work in like the mines and take them down and make them to the mines, and then they take them underground to where the mint is. So it's like maybe these people still don't know that this is actually like a mint that they're working for. But I'm very curious to see like what's it end up becoming of something like this for a mint. Like, is it end up funding something really good or something really bad? Because if we're still set before episode 7, this could be something that like funds maybe like the First Order. So it depends on like whose hands it gets into at that point. But yeah, it's very interesting to see like what's gonna unfold as far as like, because I also, John tells the droid, go fetch your supervisor and then go get me some of your finest refreshments, stuff like that. But the first thing that we see come back are the parents too. So I don't know if maybe there's some kind of like twist there with maybe one of the parents, maybe like again Carrie Condon's character maybe secretly being the supervisor. I doubt it. I doubt it, but also like the fact that we never like they never came back with the supervisor just kind of shows that maybe we're going to start off the next episode with us meeting who this supposedly this supervisor is.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I know we can both agree. We know there's going to be a twist. We know there's a twist left. We don't know exactly what that twist is going to be. We know a twist is left. And I mean, I think would be by what you just said, it would be, the kind of the perfect twist if we found out the supervisor was a droid, or do they say cyborg in Star Wars?
I forget what the term is they use in Book of Boba Fett when they're talking about like Fennec Shannon and that whole little group.
Is it enhanced? Augmented? It's augmented?
The Augs or something like that. They call that. Yeah, they're like, like it basically like that, like a slang term. But I don't know if they ever use the word kind of like human cyborg or anything like that. I just just more human droid or whatever it is. But like, or someone like Echo. Like what would you technically refer to someone as Echo? Just like an Og, I guess because he's got more like some droid parts. But yeah, I think it's a very interesting thing to kind of tackle in live action, like a character that's very much like Echo, but more in a live action sense.
Yeah, absolutely. Either way, I'm excited. I like not knowing, but this is like, I've said this a ton of times in the past. This is my favorite time because we know there's going to be something, a twist, some kind of reveal. We don't know what that is yet, but there's so many other little tiny breadcrumbs that we can, I just like hearing other theories, like type of thing. Like this is like my favorite time to be able to figure out like other people's thoughts and ideas of what it could potentially that twist could be. I'm very excited.
Yeah, and we still have one like Mandalorian tie-in still out there too with Vane, the pirate that's still on Jod's vessel now, I guess. And he ended up kind of taking a little bit of command and making some kind of a call for the people to follow them, I believe. So I think there's still going to be there's some kind of play there where like that character is going to just take control of that crew, and then we'll see that maybe that could be our tie-in between these characters and the Mandalorian crew. So yeah, I think that the fact that he still survived all of this stuff that's happened so far, and he keeps popping up here and there, I'm like, there's a reason why Vane keeps showing up. So I'm thinking like maybe this episode he's gonna have a little bit more of a role, or but I still think maybe like it'll just be more to like tie things up at the end, maybe.
Yeah, definitely, and just like you said, kind of just like reminding the audience of they are in the same general time period type of thing. Like he might just be that. He might just be our Carson Teva, like just saying like, hey, just so you know, it's the same time period type of thing. Like that might be literally the only reason we've seen him all the way through the series type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, but next week is the finale. I can't wait. It can't get here soon enough. As we always say. That's what we think. Let us know in the comments below. What did you think of episode 7? And what do you think this twist is going to be? Who is the supervisor? How are the parents and kids going to get out of the situation that we left off on in episode 7? How is everything going to wrap up? And, like what happens connected to this? There is no wrong answer. You could put in the comments that Mando and Grogu are going to show up and save the day. And we can't dispute it yet until we get the finale. And as always, don't forget, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to hear about all of our latest audio and video podcast releases. Bye, everybody!
Poppin' Off presents That Recap Show.